Okay. Hey, Samia, hi.
Hello.
Great. Okay, we're just about to. Oh, thank you. Look lovely today. We're just about to start. All right. Hello, everybody. Well, while other people pour in, we're just going to start keeping with time. So today we're having our second community sharing session at Planet Splice, and thanks to Vahe, who's going to talk about SEO trends all of this year and what we should be looking forward to in 2023. Uh, he's going to do a little presentation, but there's enough time for us to chat with him and ask him more questions, all things related to SEO. And I know it's a big pain point for me. So hoping to hear what are the challenges y'all are dealing with as well. So I think I'll let Wahi take over and let's listen to him and then talk a little bit about what each one of us are doing and how we're dealing with SEO or what our particular challenges are. And then Wahi could probably shed some light on it. Yes? Right, over to you, Wahi.
Thank you, Millie, and thank you to our fellow splicers today. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys. So yeah, as Millie mentioned, want to go through trends that happened this year, which will then pour into next year. There's two main key trends that I want to emphasize on, particularly about each and how short form video and web stories can impact your newsroom, and then top strategies, looking at both news and evergreen to help you with 2003 trends and beyond, and as Millie mentioned, general best practices. So I guess, why are we speaking about these things today? I want to speak to you guys more on the top level because I see this with a lot of the stuff that has been happening with Google in the past year. I see a lot of optimism and resurgence of various things like local journalism becoming more important, as a fundamental shift in trying to target younger demographics and audiences and how to aggregate that content. At the same time, there's been for the past couple of years a battle with misinformation or content that's being generated by AI, and some of the things that Google has done as well to tackle that. And I guess looking at more of a systemic way to evaluate how Google determines, it was probably 3 years ago, 2019, where Google initially said that they were going to emphasize more on original reporting. We are now seeing a lot more clear evidence of what that means and what as journalists, as professionals working in media or content-driven sites can do to help make that very clear. So I see a lot of optimism, I see this year and next year as a shift to fundamentally change the paradigm of how we look at SEO moving forward. So if we look back, I guess the way I look at trends for SEO is the three core areas. What are sort of the products that Google's launching that's going to determine how, and that's sort of this sort of reflects on how users are looking for information and trends to make it discoverable. What are the signs of updates that they've done, which has reflected in these product changes, and what are the features as well that's reflected on these product launches that have happened. In a nutshell, like as you will see in a couple of the other slides, it's become more predictable of what's happening if you know where to look. And I want to teach you all on this session as well about where to look so you can determine the trends as well. So in Search On 2022, their annual conference that focuses on what the search updates are, they had around 10 different features and product updates that they emphasized on. But as publishers, what I think is really exciting to emphasize on is around these five core areas. There's the focus of Google has a product called Lens, where you can use a camera to start searching for, like when you take a picture or you put your camera on something, it will actually start generating the visual match results, as you can see here. And so what they've done this past year is they've gone through and upgraded that by having the ability to focus on translations, improving the text search assistance on that. So for example, let's say you're searching for Thai and then put green next to it, then also you can see like as this screenshot showing, you're putting the thing next to that shirt. They want to put a complementary tie. It's actually more improved, more predictive search as well, and people that searching for near me. So for example, if someone's putting an image and they're of a restaurant and they say near me, then they'll try to find a brand like a McDonald's or KFC, and they're trying to find one that's near you. So that aspect of image discovery through AI, the technology has significantly improved, that they can offer this as a product. Then there's the actual meta trends that we've seen across the board around the rise of the content creator economy, and the fact that there's a lot more of those creators and media publishers that are going very deep in their content. There was the fact that that wasn't probably coming up in search results. They've now addressed that through the integration of short form content and video stories. So for example, if you search for things to do in X city, they are blending in results of web story profiles or prominent, influencers or people or publishers that have a short video about that, and at the same time as well, again, adding that next level of predictions as well to include relevant evergreen articles that support that query as well. So they're trying to also jump through and predict what the next searches are to then help with the clustering of content that you might be looking. It's like the cluster effect of looking at the related content pieces. They're trying to predict that and trying to personalize that for you as well. There's been also the discussion of forum features that's gonna, when you look at there's two types of search results. There's you go to the tabs where you see, for example, video results only or news results only, because that's a filter or facet of search, but there's the overall universal results. And I guess what's happening is, because there's been a lot more of the rise of e-commerce and a lot more publishers going into trying to target that as a monetization opportunity, and a lot of them might be probably doing that through the use of AI. They've also realized that those results are over optimized, and the actual conversations that are happening is on a community level. And so they're trying to pull in reputable sources from publishers. Like Edmunds is like I think marketplace or car aggregator platform that also includes content, and they're also looking at reputable sources like Reddit and Quora to surface related questions and answers about that. So that's pretty exciting. And the other two, in a nutshell as well, is this one is showing translated and local international results. So for example, if you search for China news, or if you're searching for a particular topic and news and stuff, and you see how there's like the squares, like a carousel in the search results, that's called top stories. Underneath that, what they're going to be showing is they're actually going to show if there's a local publishers that are prominent, they're going to show the local results for those as well. And what they're going to also do is that if there isn't any alternatives to those stories, they will also show a translation of that story as well. So that also implies that, you can, this is what excites me about the revival of local journalism. It's something that Facebook hasn't been able to do, and now they're shifting towards the metaverse. But Google's making a serious effort in trying to advocate for discoverability of local content and original reporting on a local level. And then finally, the other product, they've been testing this for quite some while, but they made this more official in that when you go to a search results listing, there's like 3 blue dots. You click on it, and if they have sources about, this also comes when you're also logged in. And so it gives you a little bit of background about where this is coming from. So it's, as you can see on the screen, sorry, it's a little bit blurred, but it says that it's the reason why this is coming up is because it's coming from your search term. Maybe you've looked at things in the past because this is English, and sometimes it also looks at reputable links associated to that source as well about the topic to validate that that's the actual topic as well. So there's this next level of personalization is also coming on a listing level for your search results to give you that transparency and that trust that you can actually rely on the search results that are coming up. So those are really exciting products, and there's a lot of things that you can already uncover from those things there. So How you can determine how the things have come up is two ways, as I mentioned. The first thing is about looking at the ranking updates, and there's a link that I'll share in these slides, and there's in the resource in the community where you can go to see the chronological order, and you can then see you can correlate these updates with your traffic patterns and see if that's been impacted or not. But a lot of this is pretty much focused on this part, in that the product reviews, a lot of updates around it because of the rise of AI. There's been core updates just to change the nature of the search, and make sure keep that updated. But the biggest one that's come in the past couple of months is around the helpful content update, which sort of transfers into EAT. So what essentially what they've trying to emphasize on is that publishers can't just go about publishing anything they want. They have to be an expert of what they do. But what used to happen before is like bigger publishers can get away with doing that because they've been historically prominent, and they've been seen as topical authority. So when they publish something new that's not in the niche, they'll just rank for no reason. So what this update is trying to do is it's trying to put in some other quality parameters to make sure that only the most relevant content gets updated, and it also combats that AI that's happening. So what to be more specific around that, it's actually looking at authors, it's actually looking at the company, how they actually provide transparency in their process of reviewing products or information, what's deemed as an advertiser or not, what's the process of publisher becoming an advertiser, and language as well that's also incorporated in the content that determines that you've actually gone through and reviewed this process, because the vernacular is something that's easily picked up now, and rather than just like providing a description of a product listing or best listicle, it's become smarter at doing that. So a lot of these things is, in a nutshell, what we've seen as a result is we've seen a lot of lifestyle type publishers see a big decline in their traffic, up to 50% of decline in their traffic, and publishers that have just like tried to cover multiple range of areas, unless they're like a national publisher, which is totally fine. That's covering various issues around the economy or business. We're seeing more publishers that focus on a niche that have tried to go broad around different subjects tank, or aggregators, because of the fact that they try to go a bit broader and they're not sort of complying with the new search landscape and the updates around that. So with this core update, it is something that's recoverable. It's something that you can work on improving, and we'll go through some of the tactics later on how to improve on that as well. But this is out of this whole year has been the biggest update, and it's really positive in terms of really weeding out the misinformation and the the poor quality content that's been published as a result of AI generated content. The other part as well is around different features. So I won't go too technical because I know that otherwise I'll start geeking out too much. But there's been a lot more coding and schema around how to classify better authors, and Google's also looked at ways of making, because of the product trend around trying to make a lot of that content discoverable in search, particularly where it's coming from web stories from Google or TikTok or Instagram, all those type of things. It's also trying to provide better reporting so that you can see whether or not that content being properly picked up and indexed. And the other thing as well that they've done is they're actually going through and also updating the documentation and the coding that you have to do when you have to provide clarification on how you fact check the resourcing as well. So before, publishing date was like, for example, a main consideration when checking that schema, but now it's things like when it's been reviewed rather than the publishing date, so that there's clear distinctions on that fact checking process. And there's so much more, but just to distill, those are the main ones, and you can visit their log again to check that as well. So for me, Yeah, I know helpful. I mentioned the helpful content is a big trend, but I think the main thing that we've seen publishers come to mainstream is web story / short form video. And why is that? Um, I think, and this was all we picked up on this before the search announcement that Google made before um, August. And the way that I take the approach that I take is the power of three. So if I see three areas that give me hints that this is becoming mainstream, then it's probably likelihood that publishers need to start, and we will get into a first mover advantage to doing that. So first signal that I saw was I saw a lot of other publisher SEOs. We weren't the first to pick up on this, but necessarily we did benefit from picking up on it relatively earlier than other people. But the first thing that we saw was we saw other publishers speaking about it. John Shahada is a well-known SEO from Condé Nast. He's a colleague of mine as well. We've collaborated, and he's also got a platform called newsdash.com that he collects a lot of data about the top stories and search and Google News results. And one of the things that he saw was in the top story carousel was that a web story was getting picked up. And he saw that in his data set that increasingly that was getting picked up. So he was asking people in January, have you seen it? Then other people start testing it. You know, the early innovators, the 10% of those that are early starters start testing it. They started seeing that they can actually start getting results from top very broad keywords for their web story, and they did minimum effort. So we realized that there's more people testing it. And then the third signal was the fact that there was a lot more integration of other different types of video, short form video content, and the display of that in different sections. So Google would go through and do their own split testing as well. And sorry, this is part of the second point. They started also testing it into different features and stuff as well. So this one was like they have a for a query around Tom Cruise, for example. There was a panel where they showed all the different sources of YouTube, Facebook, and stuff. And there was another one of The Rock, and it did similar thing as well. And then for us, the third thing was that we saw bigger publishers starting to adopt this, like the Australian, where they literally put that content on the homepage because they realized that was the feedback they were getting to target Gen Z. To me, that was a sign. It was like, okay, now we have to start doing this for smaller publishers because we primarily work with small to medium-sized publishers. So we put that to the test in June after that 6-month period where we saw the trends. And in a nutshell, not to go too much detail, but we worked with many publishers in determining like a cluster, a bunch of related topics together. They did that across a series of 6 to 8 weeks, and they did a high volume of it. And then as a result of that, they saw a big jump in their traffic. And then they stopped it because it was something that was a resourcing capacity for them to do. But they saw a drop as a result. And we also did our own test on this on our own website. Our head of SEO had a very niche resource about this had a niche resource website about puppies. I know that most of the audience today is a lot more heavy journalism, but just to simplify the example, you know, and we did the same scenario in May. And then we did, sorry, I should have put the slides in different order. We did this in May. We then went and tried this on our clients in June to July, August. They saw the results, and now we're sort of advising our clients that this is the way to move forward. And then August, September, the conference happened, and that validated it. So ultimately, for web stories and short form video, we sort of see a lot of different learnings from this. We saw that there was a frequency that you have to adopt in a short period of time to actually detect that discoverability of that content. So that 6 to 8 pieces per week over a 6-week period to see that eventually be triggered. We saw that with a lot more short form video, there's like different, it's a lot more simplified and a lot more evergreen in terms of explainers do very well. And the fact that you have to have as well sources linking to external linking, sorry. external linking sources towards that as well. It helped increase the likelihood of that to perform as well. And that having to link from the main website to your short form video formats also helps in pass that authority from the main website to the short form videos to then allow that to trigger in Discover and into the main universal results as well. So overall, like that's definitely a key thing that's become mainstream, and definitely suggest everyone on who's listening to this to adopt as well, whatever niche you're focusing on, and definitely like coming back to more of the heavy hitting journalism side. If we adopt this example, like they are talking about explainers and or like what's next type of pieces, because those are sort of listed things of facts and outcomes that might be helping to inform people's opinions. You can use this as a way to target that new audience and new generation that of people that are looking, that have more shorter concentration spans. So for us, I'm gonna also just go through other live examples as well, but based on those different events and the product updates, and based on the ranking updates, we saw that reinforce the product updates. We sort of look at these things to prioritize on for 2023 and beyond. The first thing is around really trying to plan your news classes and events in advance. So for example, let's say covering an election, covering an election that incorporates what is explainers about key policies from each side, biographies about particular people, the election results, a piece about the election results. You might have a live piece about the day that's happening as it goes along. And typically with these type of events as well, for a news cluster, for day-to-day breaking news as it happens, you can create follow-up stories and definitely use tools like keywordtrends.ai, because it would allow you to monitor what the rising searches are more in a reportable format. But then you can also use Google Trends itself, and then maybe accompany that with Glimpse or Google Trends daily newsletter to then go back to more historical trending patterns. And then if it's elections and all those type of things, map out when you should probably be publishing them, assuming that the date of the elections or the day of the events are very similar in the month that's happening. The other point is, following this as well, many of the evergreen stories that we saw, I gave an example about who is XYZ, for example, as an explainer. Follow up with any of the news content and make sure that you have evergreen planned in advance for that, because that's also going to help you, even if the peak trends pass over a longer period of time, you can then still have baseline traffic you can build up on to then develop your topical authority, which is going to be very important for Google to recognize that you're an expert in this subject matter, and therefore it'll be easier for you to rank, particularly for top stories on Google News in the future. Diversifying and repurposing your content. So I wouldn't suggest, like with the short form video and web stories, don't make it hard on yourself to start this by creating original content. You can start even as much as, like, if you already have a social media team that's covering Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels or short stories on that format, repurpose that into a web story. There's a lot of plugins, like if you're using WordPress to integrate, to repurpose that automatically in there, and you can pretty much publish it via your CMS, and then it can rank in the web results as well, alongside the other supporting YouTube, Facebook, and other TikTok stories and stuff as well. So try to use a repurposing approach for that, so that it's not time consuming for you, and also it's an easier buy-in as well for any stakeholders that are talking about budget and resourcing as well. And you can maybe even provide this as a value add for your advertisers as well, if you are creating different content pieces to provide sponsorship offerings. give this as a free value add. Then you can give this to show the data to your internal management or stakeholders and say, look, we've given this to free, we're getting this much traffic. We should now commercialize this and create this as an offer by adding ads and stuff into that, for example. Try that way as well to increase adoption, because I know that that's a very, in my experience in this past year, to adopt this as a consistent path of publishing being consistent is being challenging. So definitely have planned your resources around that, and maybe those things can help you with reducing the friction. With EAT as well. So EAT is an acronym from Google. It's expertise, authority, and trust. And so some of the things that I mentioned to you about the factors around having clearly biographies and explaining the process of how you're reporting and stuff like that. I'll show you an example. There's a lot more. I don't see this as much. I don't see this in our region at the moment in terms of Southeast Asia and APAC, but it's already happening in the US, because a lot of these features first start rolling out in the US and then it goes globally. There's an example of US news, and they've got this for the other content as well, whereby this is the original author or editor. This is the original author, and when you hover on this, it shows their biography. It links to the author page, and then they've also clearly stated who's actually fact-checked and edited the content as well, if multiple people are working on the story as well, and that kind of process really makes it trustworthy for people to gives Google a good signal that we've gone through a rigorous process of publishing accurate information, but it also gives users trust as well on the content that you're publishing. There's other practices as well, such as and sorry, I know I'm not going into hard-hitting journalism sites, because we haven't seen as much in our region yet happening for outside of lifestyle. But for example, something simple as a editorial policy page where we're talking about which editorial guidelines we're following, what's determined as feedback policies, how we're correcting content, when we're correcting content, why we're not seeing bylines, fact checking, advertising and sponsorship policies, all these type of things is important, because all those type of things are important is because the helpful content update is really emphasizing more on that, and Google's quality raters, which are those sites, people that are checking the web for sites, really emphasize this very critically. So the next what I was trying to say is, like, in your 2023 checklist to the plan for next year, your news design thinking should change to really factor these things in, because it's going to take time for you to change and update everything, even in terms of even if you're covering best listicles or basic entertainment content or more basic content that you've been covering in the past, because you're trying to grow your audience. Please take time to re-evaluate all this and plan this into your next production design and product sprints, because it's going to take some time for you to update that. And the last thing is as well is the focus on local journalism. So really doubling down on getting more local editors that are experts in their region, covering specific issues that reflects the community, or even looking at finding translated editors. So just like this as an example, right? You might have the original editor of journalist covering a news story, and then you can say translated, edited by this person, and then they have the expertise and background in translating various texts from, for example, English to Chinese or Hindi, like, countries like Malaysia or Singapore, or many of those APAC regions where there's a multicultural society that has multiple different backgrounds being predominant. It's really exciting to see that opportunity to be able to tackle all those communities and give that information more holistically, rather than trying to essentially trying to preference English first, for example. And I guess that's been a skew in the past, but I encourage all your team, especially if you've got a multicultural community, and that not only besides English, build your team that's covering that language as well. So, sorry, this is an example of, I forgot to mention, this is an example of news clustering, and this was the ABC News when the death of the new Queen happened. They covered like back-to-back multiple stories within 20. Google's criteria for ranking in top stories is that you should be covering news around that subject within 48 hours, and so they covered multiple topics around the Queen Elizabeth's death and that whole process of the funeral process, and because of that they were able to trigger 2 results in the top stories, and that's why I was talking about the importance of news clustering as well, because this is not the same. This is not ABC News results. Sorry, this is someone else. This is another publisher, but we're able to do that same project and case study in covering that ongoing news coverage on multiple content pieces, and we saw on that day a big bump up in traffic because we were timely, being very on top of the ongoing coverage of that content and story. So yeah, I'm gonna just stop there at the moment, and I thank you for your time, and just wanted to pass it over to everyone here for discussions and comments.
Thanks, Wahi. I think, yeah, let's just open the floor because Karthik, Sandeep, and Kushin also joined us in the middle of the presentation.
Sure.
So, guys, anybody, if you all have any questions or even something specific to an issue that you all are dealing with in your newsrooms with respect to SEO, feel free to put it out.
Thank you, Harvin. Thank you very much. Maybe I can ask a question to everyone here. Have you all experimented with short form videos or short form videos or web stories? Has there an experience working with that, and how has that been so far with you in terms of reaching your audience, or has there been any challenges around that?
So I think for us, we've done short form video, but we've not really published them on the same platform. We mainly use it only for social. But yeah, we haven't found a way, and especially that's what I found interesting about the presentation is we could leverage it for driving audience to the platform, because we thought it's more of a like Instagram, especially for on Instagram. We've tried some of the short form video thing, but what is the better way to integrate that with our actual platform?
Absolutely. So you can use web stories as a way to integrate that. So if you're on WordPress, you can use plugins like StoryPress or Google's official plugin. And essentially, let me just see if I can. I don't have it on that website. Sorry, I'd like to bring up a client website, but I don't feel like it's confidentiality stuff. But basically, you can use there's plugins I'll share with the group community as well. That it's specifically web story plugins that you can literally just convert social short form videos into web story format, or you can create templates directly within the CMS, and then you can publish it on the website, and then it will have, like, in terms of the URL, /web stories / name of the article, and obviously you do your best SEO practices to try to also help rank that article. I think over time as well, Millie, with all the social stuff that I mentioned as well, it's not coming yet in our region because it's still being tested beta in the US, but for more trending and more topical stories, that the content creators that cover that very well on social, we will see eventually those content pieces also, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it might be, like the examples I showed, will eventually come up there. But probably that'll be early next year, because it's been since middle of this year that they've been beta testing in the US, and naturally it takes 6 months to a year for them to roll it out across the world.
And so it will look a little similar to how the Twitter feed plugin was, right? Like I remember we could bring in the Twitter feed, and that could look like a widget on the homepage of the site, wherever you choose to place it. So is this something that would look similar to that?
Let's bring up the Australian example. Sorry. So you can see here visual stories. If I click on it, literally going to be like this. That was an ad that you saw. So yeah, literally just something like this, and you can embed video as well. They're just on the text version, the image
Wait,
version.
sorry, are you sharing anything? I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm the
oh,
only one.
sorry, I didn't realize I wasn't showing.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
So on the Australian, they've got a visual story section, and basically just like a title of the article or content. Some of it has video only, and some of it has text and images, and it's
So
just like a summary.
in the stories that we use on social, I think this is exactly the Instagram format.
Yeah, exactly. You can pretty much repurpose the exact same format as part of a web story as well.
So the text inside will kind of enable the SEO, right? Or do we need to do like a caption or hashtags?
No, the text inside would help with that, and also the other practices that I spoke about in terms of linking from the website. Yeah, basically the metadata as well, like on the back end on the CMS as well, you can add in the title tag description as well, so Google can pick it up. But the content that you actually create within this is what's going to matter to help it rank.
Right.
But they typically, I forgot what the word count was again. Like you can't really put much in there. That's why the content in itself is very short. There's only like I think it's only like until 100 words or something that you can actually put at the maximum for each slide, and you can only put a maximum of 15 or 17 slides, I think, or something like that. So you can't like, it's not going to be the case where you can just like over spam it with content or videos and try to make it rank. It has to be genuine, and they put a lot of specific criteria around image sizes and text, and which is why I can't remember all off by heart. But yeah, essentially that's whatever you put in here is what's going to help it rank.
Thanks. This is helpful. If you could just then ping the names of the plugins later in the Slack community, that's fine.
Absolutely. I can put I'll put in the slides as well, the resources as well. You can look at as well for sure.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else has any specific question for Wahid?
I might ask you guys a question. How about in terms of local journalism? Is there much publishers on the call now that have multiple languages that they're targeting, and are they seeing any challenges around trying to target audiences in different languages? No? Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I guess mainly we're all, I'm assuming, but yeah, mostly more English speaking or publication itself. Like we've never even, at least from my newsroom, we've never even considered translations or doing like another language supplement on the side.
Yeah, I think I mean, if you're based, I know with Singapore and Malaysia particularly, so I know emphasizing more of those cities, but because I know that there's different audiences demographics. Rather than letting Google translate your content for you, I guess it might be worthwhile considering having resources who are translators or editors that can cover that in a unique angle in that language, because otherwise Google's going to start translating it for you if there's no other alternative out there. And I guess you wouldn't want to direct people to your website with a poor experience if that translation is happening. So I guess I just see this as an early. It might be something that, I mean, for Southeast Asia, maybe mid to end next year. But I think it's another early adopter opportunity that many publishers in APAC can take, given that there's audiences that have different needs in different languages. It's more diverse, I think, than just besides US being Hispanic and stuff. I think there's a lot more diversity in our region.
Yeah, that I think is true.
Yeah.
All right. I think if we don't have any other questions, we'll be happy to just close the room and not keep everybody else waiting. Any last thoughts for us, Wahi? Is there anything else you want to share? We will be, of course, sharing the recording with the slides.
Yeah, I just sorry for the small plug. I hope you guys don't mind, but yeah, and I'll leave off with you guys with a last note as well. Besides this, but we do have a SEO publisher course that we're launching in November, and basically it covers pretty much how we've helped publishers from the beginning. We've worked with many publishers from the beginning with the SEO and editorial strategy, or publishers that are at the stage where they want to they've sort of covered very well their initial niche, but they want to expand their site architecture and everything else, or work on technical issues. And essentially what we've done is we've put all that together into a course with our framework, with our templates, give you step by step, and then put that into a course. And then you can also get monthly coaching, like 1 to 2 hour monthly coaching, where you can book a call with our team to make sure that you're doing that effectively. We're offering this to Splice members and everyone until the end of October. And if there's a collective number of Splice members that are joining, then we can give additional benefits. But I hope we can provide the Splice members a value in this regard, and anything else that we can do. But my other parting thoughts are just at the end of the day, if whichever initiative you want to take based on the new products that are out there, don't try to take a knee-jerk reaction to it. There's a lot of different aspects that you can focus on. Just focus on one of them and go deep, and then just show the value within the organization on that, to then work on different content areas or different facets that Google's offering us to reach more audiences, whether it's local or on a community level. Which, yeah, I think like this is a shift in the paradigm from 2023. I think this is really important to realize that we're going into another paradigm with how search is going to work.
Great. Thank you, Wahid. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and trends about SEO, and also telling us about the course. And thank you everyone else for attending, and I hope you've got some more insight into this. If there are any questions that you have for Wahid, he's on the Slack community, so just feel free to DM him or put it in resources or general if you wish. Thank you everyone for joining, and hope you have a good weekend ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time and hearing me out. Thanks, everyone. All the best.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.